computer. Okay. All right. So we'll get started, and hopefully this will be a good use of your time. We definitely don't want to take up any extra time because we know that life is super busy. Just wanted to introduce who will be speaking. So I will be talking. My name is Jen Manwaring, and then we've got Elise Hill that will be chatting with us, and then Kirsten Garrison will be talking to us. So I'll start us off. I'm hoping that we titled this "Real Women, Real Success," and hopefully this will be valuable to you, and hopefully you will feel our true stories, and we're going to get vulnerable and real tonight. We're going to start off talking a little bit about our stories and some of the fears that we had jumping into the business. And then we will have a Q&A afterwards that we will probably do in the chat. But before we get started, everyone who's here, if you can put in the chat that you're here and your name and which consultant invited you to the call and where you're from. So if you can do that while we're talking, we would love it, so we can kind of see who's here and kind of make it a little bit more of a living room feel, even though we're all in our own homes, and hopefully you've got a drink and you're cozy and you're comfortable. Okay, so I will start with my story. So 3 years ago, my family was coming out of some really big trials, big struggles. I have 6 children, and I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and my youngest daughter had just finished cancer treatment at the age of 4. So she was diagnosed when she was 2. And during that time, we went from 2 incomes down to 1. And I don't know how else to say it, but that we were in financial ruins between the debts that we were running up and not having a second income. We were not in a good spot. So I knew I needed to bring in an income. I did not have the time or the energy to add anything to my plate. I felt like my life was very busy, and we were kind of trying to pick up the pieces of our lives. I watched my good friend Alyssa she started Rodan & Fields, and she was another cancer mom. And the interesting thing is that she was a school teacher, and she left that profession to start Rodan & Fields. And I thought, that is super weird. Why would anyone go to direct marketing and leave their job where they have a skilled trade? But she did. And I kind of watched, and after 6 months, I was like, I did my research. I've never done this before. I certainly don't have time, but I'm going to just jump in and just see what happens. My first month of business, I was able to bring in a paycheck of $400. And I'm going to tell you that $400 was life-changing for us. That first paycheck, I remember calling my husband. I was in tears, and I was like, I think this is going to work. Super excited, really got, motivated and excited to do this business. Well, 4 months into my business, I was snuggling with my cute little Ava, my daughter, who had been in cancer treatment. And we were watching TV, and I felt a lump on her head. And little did I know that day that lump would represent another 3 years of cancer treatment, now traveling to New York City and back from Salt Lake, that it would represent chemo and a brain surgery and ICU stays and a very, very difficult path ahead. So here I had started this business, and I was all excited and, making this paycheck. And now my focus had to be on my daughter. And this time around, it was going to be much harder. Now, when we talk about time on my hands, I still have my 6 children. Now I'm traveling, and now I would add my business into this. And I really wasn't sure, am I going to be able to make this work? And so what I did was I would work my business here and there, 15 minutes here, 30 minutes here, and probably never more than an hour a day was I working my business, and my business continued to grow. I would work after my daughter had treatment and fell asleep. We would be at the Ronald McDonald House. I would, work my business while she was in the playroom. I would be on an airplane working my business. And little by little, my business grew. And so that first paycheck that I made, in 3 years, I have made more than 10 times over. And is what I'm making now. And it's been a huge blessing. We went from renting to purchasing a home and getting out of credit card debt and paying off our vehicles, paying off our medical debt. And it's been a huge blessing. And so, my biggest concern was, I just don't think I have the time for this business. And you know what? It's the busy people that truly find success in it. They know how to organize their time. I work my business, I've got like a nice blouse on, but truly I work my business in my pajamas, and my team knows that. That's my MO. That's how I work, and that's how I roll. And there's a quote that I love. Let's see if I can find it. Where did it go? Oh, goodness. I don't think it got printed out. But basically it talks about little by little, success starts with small actions. You do small things that build up, and then you get this great reward. And, I never will claim that this business is a get-rich-quick scheme, because those don't exist. But I can truly say that if you're coachable and you jump in and you're ready to run and work with this business, there is success to be had. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Kirsten, who is my sister-in-law. And she is in Australia, and I don't want to give away anymore. I'll turn it over to you, Kirsten.
Okay, so I have notes to keep me on track, so I need my glasses on. I also thought I was busy, but which I was super busy, but mostly it was fear that kept me from jumping on. So I have always wanted to be a mom and an at-home mom, and I had a plan. Like, I grew up believing that I was never going to be good enough. So I would make sure that I empowered my kids. And I grew up believing that I was somehow a defective human being and therefore unlovable. So I would make sure that they were never given a reason to doubt my love for them. And by the time I was 25, I had both my beautiful babies. By the time I was 28, I was a single mom working 60 hours a week and broke as a joke for their entire childhood. Now, I also always knew that multiple streams of income was the answer to my financial freedom, the kind of financial freedom that I desired in order to spend more time with my babies. But I had this crazy, irrational fear that I was afraid of being put in a situation where I had to acknowledge that I'm not good enough because I failed at something. And like saying it out loud, like I get that's nuts, but it was a real deep fear. And my fear and my judgments limited my ability and my success, to the point that I missed out entirely. Like, I missed their entire childhood. Now, when Jen started, I watched her for a while. I watched her posts, and I totally ignored her messages to me. Like, she would shoot off messages and be like, "Oh, sister, it's actually a good thing." And I would completely ignore it. But secretly, I was doing research on the company. Forbes had a ton of good things to say. I found a couple of Harvard business study, like one study, another article. Plus, I found a saturation calculator, and that proved that it was a drop in the ocean, like compared to some of the other companies who were oversaturated. And obviously been around a lot longer. But this company had so far to go before it was saturated, just in the United States, had just opened in Canada, hadn't yet opened in Australia. So I was already convinced that it was a strong vehicle and worth the risk. But it wasn't until my dad offered to pay for my startup kit that I joined. And no, he didn't pay for my kit. I was a 40-year-old woman at the time, hell bent on being enough. So that would have been far too embarrassing for me. But let me tell you what happened when I dropped my limiting beliefs and my judgments. My first paycheck was like $150, which when you're broke as a joke, $150 is hallelujah money. My next paycheck was more than double that. And the one after that was more than double the one before, but that's not even where the magic is. Or at least that's not where it was for me. The magical thing was within the first 30 days of being brave enough to take that one step out of my comfort zone to generate one stream of income with Rodan and Fields, 3 more presented themselves. And I am not a salesman. I despise salesmen. You will not find this girl shopping for a car with vulture salesmen. It's not my thing, and I don't want to be that. But the beauty of this business that I was quickly finding out is that our only job is to create meaningful connections, relationships that matter. It's not to sell. That was another judgment that I had to let go of. And let me tell you, when I did, life got rich. And I'm not just talking about the paychecks. When I dropped my limiting beliefs and judgments of myself, of others, of everything, the possibilities became endless. So now I'm a soon-to-be published author. I am a full-time joy seeker across all of Australia with a network marketing empire in skincare. And it all came when I decided to drop my judgments of how life should be for me and open myself up to limitless possibilities. Elise, how about you?
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing your story, Kirsten. My name's Elise Hill, and I had started Rodan and Fields about a year ago, but I wanted to give a little bit of my backstory. So I had worked in corporate America for about 12 years prior to joining Rodan and Fields. And what corporate America was great for me. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my skill set and my talents, and I built great friendships, and it was great. But like Kirsten, I was missing out on my kids' lives. And it wasn't until my son, my oldest, had started kindergarten, I took about a week off so that I could help him transition to after school care. And I wanted to make sure that he was okay doing that. I mean, he didn't know any different. He had always been in some form of childcare. And I picked him up one day after just being there for only an hour. I wanted him to kind of transition through that. And he had peed his pants. It's silly to get emotional about that, but he was 5. He was potty trained. And I knew I had to leave. Mom was out. And so shortly after that, I put in my resignation, and that was hard. My corporate America job was a big part of who I was. It was a big part of my identity. And after leaving that, I felt really lost. I didn't know what I was going to do. And for a couple years, I didn't have anything as far as being in the workforce, but I was home with my babies, and we needed a second income. It wasn't like we were fortunate enough to where one income was doing it for our family. We needed a second income. And I knew that I didn't want to go back to working 68 to 70 hours a week. So I knew something had to change. And that's when some posts started coming up in my feed from Jen. And I started to really look into it. And it was the before and afters, honestly, that caught my eye. I hadn't even purchased any product, but I asked a lot of questions over the course of 6 months before I actually pulled the trigger. And what kept coming up for me was, oh my gosh, am I going to make any money doing this? Will I make any money? And for me, that was more of just like the surface concern or objection. And I didn't realize it at the time that that's what it was, but it truly was just a surface concern. With the company coming with, accolades from Forbes and Harvard and a money back guarantee by saying yes for 60 days, there really was no risk. But my objection was, well, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to make money. Guys, in 30 days, I told myself I'm going to do whatever Jen tells me to do. I am going to be coachable, and I'm treating this like it is my job. And in my first 30 days, without building a team, I made our mortgage payment. And that was no small feat. I was incredibly wowed. And from that point forward, my focus changed, and I needed to share this with people, because if I can do this from home, then anybody can do this from home. But really what my concern or my objection was rooted in is I was just afraid. I was afraid of failing. And I think what I have found, or I know what I found over this past year, is that yes, that's a very real fear. Fear of failure is very, very real. But I now have a tribe of women and men that encourage me and support me through any failings that I have. Those failings mean that I am trying and I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm pushing myself to do things that I never thought I'd be doing, like a live Zoom call from my kitchen tonight. So I think that the biggest blessing for me through all of this, and it continues to be that, is that it's a constant reminder that I'm in control of my destiny. I'm in control of where I go next, and that fear does not control me. And that acknowledging that fear is real is okay. And my team's name is Team Brave. We stand for be real and vulnerable every day, because it's a constant reminder for me that it's okay to be scared. But what is it that you're really scared of? So before we turn it back to all of you guys to ask some questions, I really want to challenge you to ask yourself, what needs to happen in your life for you to be able to say yes to this opportunity? Because we all have things that come up. We all have, our concerns. Will I make money? Do I have time to do this? Maybe in a couple months I can. But really peel back and ask yourself, what needs to happen in my life for me to be able to say yes? Because the risk isn't there when you have a money back guarantee. So let's turn it to you guys. What are some concerns or fears that you have, and that you might have been asking some of your consultants about Rodan & Fields?
Jennifer, you're muted.
Yeah, like sometimes and not others. Feel free to use the chat on the right-hand side. Hopefully you can see it where it says chat. And feel free to ask questions. And then we're going to I'll kind of field them out between the three of us. We'd love to get your questions answered. We really want this to be more about you. I mean, you've kind of heard our stories and our fears, time, I'm not a salesperson, what if I fail? And probably a lot of you can resonate with that, but I wanted to see if we can maybe do some Q&A and answer some questions that you might have. Again, if you're able to unmute yourself, that's great, and you can do it that way, or you can do it in the chat to the right. And I don't know if you're able to unmute yourself. I can unmute you all if that's what you want. Sometimes we get a lot of feedback. So let's maybe try the chat first and see if that works. Okay, we've got one from Shelly. Well, thank you, Janet. I appreciate that. I'm really grateful that you're on the call. We're happy to have you here. So Shelly says, I don't think people would buy from me. Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to think who I want to field that one to. I'll take that one if you guys are okay with that.
Yeah.
So this is that was one of my biggest concerns right from the get-go. Mm-hmm. And, I remember telling my friend, I don't know people with money, and I mean, who's going to buy these products? And I just don't think I'm going to be successful, and I don't think people are going to buy from me. So it's a fear that we all have, and I can just tell you right now that dispel that fear. You would be shocked who comes out of the woodwork, because you have to remember, everybody has skin. So we sell skincare. So we sell skincare that is safe enough for a child to use. Our Soothe line, that's for sensitive skin. We sell skincare for teenagers and their acne, men and women, any age. And so we sell skincare, and everybody has skin. So you would be surprised who needs skincare. I was surprised because it wasn't my mom has never bought from me to this day, and I've been in business 3.5 years. Some of my family hasn't bought, some of my best friends haven't bought, and that's okay, because I have had lots and lots of success from people who I haven't talked to in 20 years who reach out to me and say, oh my goodness, I've been looking for something like this, or, I've been using my stuff from Nordstrom, and it's just not doing what it says, and I think I'm going to give this a try, and you would be surprised. So as for, who's going to buy from me, you're going to be shocked. Not only that, but just remember that your network is yours. So you may have, other friends that that sell skincare, but your network is uniquely yours. And so there is success to be had for sure. Hopefully I answered that. Okay, let's see. What have we got? Elise, I know too many people who already sell. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, you know what? That was a huge fear of mine. I remember talking with Jen about that. Like, Jen, I think I know somebody down the street that sells it, and I'm just worried, because I'll be real with you, I didn't even wash my face before Rodan and Fields. At night before bed, I went to bed with my makeup on. So I was like, I don't know. I don't know who would buy from me, and I think it's saturated. I think too many people sell it. And what Jen advised me, and I've held on to this advice, is that we all have our own network of people. And I feel like I am a living testament to that right there, because on my team alone, my aunt is on my team, my sister, my cousin, my mom, my best friend. I have a very close-knit family and close friendships that have joined me. And guess what? We are all doing well in this business because we have our own networks. I read a story about some consultants in a small town. I think it's Indiana. I can't remember where it's at in Indiana. And they are all three. They're sisters and mom, I believe. And they all are Lexus earners in this tiny little town, because they all have a separate network, even if we're all connected. And I think that's what's so amazing about this. So just know I had that exact same fear, concern, and doing this for a year, to see going from being able to pay our mortgage in my first round without a team to now I have 40 people that are on all of Team Brave so far. It's just been such a blessing to see how this truly has blessed people's lives. And I am just so thankful that I didn't let that stop me, because I know that it's a real concern of people's. So,
Kirsten, will you take the next one? Jana says, hopefully I'm saying your name right. Do you have to host parties? I really don't have a place to host people. What are your thoughts?
That's a really good question. Okay, so Jana, you're awesome. Thanks for asking that one. No, do not have to host parties. So I
know.
I just celebrated my 3-year anniversary, and before I came to Australia, it's to the point of like I was a little exhausted. It was getting a little out of hand. Everybody wanted to do these girls' night facial nights. They were so much fun, but eventually just stopped doing them because A, I didn't have to. B, they were so much fun that it was, like I'd go do one and someone would go, oh, I want to do the next one. And pretty soon it was every single weekend was completely jam-packed. And it was a little bit of a shell shock because I was like, I don't have, this is the one where you don't have to do these parties. Why am I doing all these parties? I mean, they were fun, don't get me wrong. But no, now we do encourage you to somehow launch your business because all of your business is online. You don't have a storefront. Your office is online. The way you track your business and, so you've got that portion of your online business and then your customers. So your website where, people are coming to, your preferred customers are purchasing from you. And so in order to launch your business, we do suggest some sort of a launch. That does not mean it has to be in your home. That can be online, and we can certainly show you how to do that. That's a fantastic question. Thanks for asking, Jenna.
Okay. Keep those questions rolling in. We'll try and get them answered. And, don't feel embarrassed if you're like, I've got one that's, fairly personal or whatever. We're here. We're going to be vulnerable. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Brickell says, I'm already a PC. Why would I want to buy a business kit to sell? Is anyone else like that, or I can field it?
You can take that one, Jen.
Okay, I'll take it. Okay. So basically, when you talk about starting a business, when starting Rodan & Fields is one of the lowest overhead costs to start a business that there is. Now, I mean, if you imagine that you were going to open up a Starbucks down the road, the cost that would be involved to, lease the land, build the building, buy all the inventory and get started with your business. The beauty of this business is we have zero inventory. We don't have to ship. Our business is all online. We have repeat customers, which brings residual income. You can grow a team, and you can do this all in less than 10 hours a week and grow a very robust business. So purchasing a business kit. So number one, that business kit comes at a 55% or deeper discount. So you're getting product at a huge discount, more than even a consultant gets just on a normal basis. So we normally get a 25%. You buy a business kit, you got 55%. The other reason that we encourage, so you're not buying inventory, you're actually buying product for you to use because you're going to be the face of your business. You're going to want to do lifestyle posts to be like, hey, I've tried the Soothe. Yes, I've tried the Redefine, and and here's the sunscreen, and this is how it works. And so a lot of it is we want those products in your hands so that you know what they do. You know what they smell like, what they feel like. If somebody comes over and says, can I wash your face and, wash my face in your sink and try this out? Yes, because I've got the products here. So we definitely encourage buying a business kit because that's really the only way you start your business. There really is no, I've never heard of a business that you do for free that's actually very successful. So I'm just letting you know that's a very, very low overhead. And yes, I recommend buying that consultant kit. Okay. We've got another one.
So tax write-off.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Kirsten. Yes, everything is a tax write-off that involves your business. And that includes product because you are using those products as a billboard for your company, which that's amazing. That's a win-win. Okay, we've got a question here that says, what if I want to do it, but I can't afford a kit? Elise, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Yeah, that was actually one of my concerns too. I gave Jen a lot of pushback about actually purchasing a kit because I was like, I can't afford it. We can't do it. And then Once I actually really understood how the business model worked and I really understood the value of having the product on hand, and I actually saw what came in each of the kits, and we have 3 different kits for different budgets, I was able to decide, okay, you know what, this is actually really important to me. And I gave myself a goal. I said, okay, you know what, I have 60 days to be able to pay this kid off, because I know that this company is backed with a 60-day money back guarantee. So I joined with a business kit. I personally had to put it on a credit card. I'm not saying that that's the way to have to do it, but that's what I had to do because I believed in this enough to do that, to make that initial investment. And I paid off that kit within the first couple of weeks. So yes, it is an initial investment. It was a sticker shock for me, but it's been paid off for quite some time. And there are a couple of programs within Rodan and Fields that help you not only earn commission just by selling product, but you can also earn basically bonuses on top of your commission. And when I learned about those extra programs that we had, it was just another thing to keep me excited and get me motivated. So I definitely get the concern about not being able to afford it, but just know it comes with a money back guarantee and all the product is what you need, and it's a write-off like Kirsten was saying.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, Kirsten, what are the daily tasks I have to do to be successful? What if I have no time to work this business?
Oh, who asked that? That's
Kylie. Sorry, Kylie asked that one.
So Kylie's got a twofer. Sweet. Okay, daily tasks. Well, let me do that in 2 ways and answer your twofer question. So right now, Rodan and Fields is what I do full time. So like I said in my story, my job is to create connections. So my focus is to deepen relationships. So I send off messages that have nothing to do with Rodan and Fields to 10 to 20 people a day. Now, before your mind explodes, let me go back. Now I'm thinking, okay, I used to be working 60 hours a week. If someone answered my question like that, I'd be like, oh no, I'm out. I've got no time. So when I started this, I was working a crap ton. In fact, I was waking up at 3 a.m. every morning because that was the only peace and quiet I could get, where just everybody leave me alone. I need some Zen time before it's go time. Then I'm spending 10 to 12 hours at work and I'm coming home completely exhausted. I might take a nap, eat, go to sleep, starts all over again, at 3 a.m. So I was choosing all of the pockets in my day, which literally would be okay, wake up at 3. I know I need to jump into the shower at 4, but I'm going to spend 10 minutes. And if I had some time, so then I would start to work at I'm going to spend 10 minutes less getting ready. So prep my outfit and spend 10 more minutes. And then, when I need a break at work, I'm a smoker. So when I need a break at work, instead of just going out and smoking, I'd bring my phone and I would work on my smoke breaks. And I just crammed it into the little nooks and crannies. Now, believe me when I say that sometimes that was overwhelming to me, because my motto was, I'm not taking on anything that requires my time, my energy, or my money. And this required my time and my energy. And, but let me tell you, in a couple of years of just cramming it into the little pockets of my world, number one, it became so much more fun than my day job. Which I liked my day job until I started liking Rodan and Fields so much better. That was hard. But it made it so worth it. Like I said before, our job is to create these connections. So, yes, I send out a bunch of messages to deepen these connections. and then follow up from the conversations that happened yesterday. And now, don't get me wrong, there are some people where when I get to know them, I think to myself, oh my gosh, she would be awesome, or he would be amazing. And I do come out and say, you got to do what I do. I think you would have a lot of fun with this, and I think you'd be awesome. So there are the handful of people that I do give that blatant invite. But for the most part, you have to understand, we're talking about people's skin. We're all like super vulnerable about this. So I need to be able to trust you in order to come to you about my face. So yeah, your only job is to create connections and deepen the ones you got. And do as many as you can.
Love it. Yes, absolutely. And you will see that, we'll post on Facebook. We do a lot of events on online like this one, which is great. We have systems in place to make it so that we share images. That's not something you would ever have to come up with on your own. Okay. Regina has a really good question. I'm nervous about the monthly cost and coming up with the money. Could you remind me again how that works? Okay, I'm going to take this one. Okay, I'm going to take it because that was also my concern. I was all in, and then my cute friend was like, and then here's, the $80 in your own product, and then the $24.95 for the website. And sorry, I think I froze out there for a second. And I was like, holy cow, I don't know if I could do that. We're being totally real, totally vulnerable. That was my first thought. And she said, you know what? That's the cost of your business. Those are optional. So it's $80 in your own product, and then it's $24.95 for your website. So the $24.95 basically keeps your website open and accessible. So that's kind of like a given, like, yes, if you were to pay someone to create a website for you and to run it, I guarantee you would be looking at about $300 or $400 for you, because I do have a friend, my neighbor, who runs a blog, and that's how much she pays the IT guy to run her website. So $24.95 is actually a bargain for sure. The other thing is with the $80, it's those two costs, the $80 and the $24.95. So it's basically $105 a month. That keeps you fully commissionable, but they are optional. They are not required to run your business. So that's a choice that you get to make as a business owner. I've been in the business for 3.5 years, and I have never, ever had to turn off what's called a consultant replenishment program. I've never turned it off because I never needed to. I have always made more than $105. Like I mentioned, I started by making $400. The next month I made $700. Right now in business, I make a lot more than that. And so for me, it's the cost of doing my business. So keep in mind, it's totally optional. The other thing with the $80, and this is what I will always tell people, it's basically my store. So when I go to purchase, I have 6 children, so 4 of my kids use Unblemished. So for me, it's very easy to go, okay, well, Lauren needs Unblemished, and so-and-so needs Soothe, and sunscreen. We all use sunscreen. We all use body moisturizer. We're all taking care of our own skin. So a lot of that is stuff that you're going to use. So that's the product that I personally buy and use for me and my family. I also will take that $80 and I'll buy 2 eye creams, and then I run a flash sale and I sell them for, the PC value, and that takes care of my $80 and then some. I give teacher gifts. I do promotions for my business where I'll do giveaways. And keep in mind that the $80 and the $24.95 are all a tax write-off. So at tax time, all of a sudden you're putting everything together and you realize you're not really paying anything out for taxes, because your skincare literally just paid any taxes that you would have owed, because it's a tax write-off. So for me, it's a win-win. You get full commission. You're not leaving anything on the table. I've never had to pay that $100 out of pocket. So for me, it's a no-brainer. So hopefully that answers your question. And I totally get how you were nervous about that, because I was the same way, and I can just guarantee you, I love the fact that I get to choose if it's on or off. I have full control, and that's how the doctors have done everything with this business. They've always chosen to do the right thing. You have 60 days to try out the business. You have 60 days to try out products. If you don't love it, send it back. You get to choose how this looks for you, and it's all geared to actually make money, not to, draw money away. And you hear about these weird businesses, and they were all pyramid schemes and weird, and this one is not like that. It's actually an award-winning business model. We get mentioned in Forbes almost monthly. And like Kirsten mentioned, there's a Harvard Business School study that we're happy to share with you. This is the real deal as far as the company, and you'd be partnering with the creators of Proactiv. They're two incredible dermatologists who are willing to partner with you. Okay, let's see. How are we doing on time? Okay, we're doing okay. Elise, how do I get all the training to run the business? This is from Kylie Peterson.
Kylie, that's a great question. I remember I was nervous about that too, because I just didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't done anything quite like this before, and I didn't want to do anything, quote, wrong. But what's so great about this is, I can't remember if Jen or Kirsten said it, but we have systems in place to help you be successful. So literally from the time that you enroll as a consultant, we have a step A, a step B, a step C, and so forth to make sure that you are set up to be successful. We schedule a training that we will do with you over the phone. We also have pre-recorded trainings that you can watch in case you missed something or you need to revisit something. We also have a few Facebook pages where they do like Sunday night live trainings on specific topics, or we have another page that you can visit, and it's from leaders of this company that are training on stuff that we still have fears around, whatever it might be, fear if people can buy from me, or fear of people joining me, whatever it might be. There is trainings for something. So what I think I've learned though from all of this is to not overtrain myself, to just jump in and do it. And that is really what I told myself from the beginning, is whatever Jen asks of me. So there was trust that I had in Jen. Whatever Jen asks me to do, I'm just going to do it. As crazy as it sounds, I'm just going to do it. So it's kind of twofold. We have the training and the processes in place, but it also requires you to just jump in and give it a go and give it a fair shot.
Love it. Love it. Yes, we've got lots of great training, and I actually feel like that's why we have so much success on our team. We really have got the training down, and we will be kind of holding your hand for the first 30 to 60 days. The beauty is that we have team pages so that if you ever did run into a question, you could ask, and within 5 minutes you will have an answer. And we have a very supportive team where we actually cheer each other on. It's not a competition. We actually feel like there's enough success for everyone, and I love that. Okay, Kirsten, from Michelle Anderson, I have friends who didn't like Proactiv. How could I possibly try to sell them anything from the same doctors? Great question.
Holy cow. Okay, so for those of you that might not know, Rodan and Fields are the doctors who created Proactiv, and they sold it off in the 90s because what they realized was, and Proactiv is an anti-acne, and it's loaded with benzoyl peroxide. So really what they realized was all it was doing was stuffing the active breakouts. It wasn't actually breaking the bacteria cycle. And they realized too that every major skin concern can be corrected with the right ingredients, the right formulation, in the right order. And so they ventured off to create that with their namesake brand, Rodan and Fields. In the US and Canada, we do have an anti-acne that is far more effective than their original version. Not to mention the company that they sold it to has since changed the formulation of Proactiv. So currently, the Unblemish is a far more effective approach in treating, not just treating active acne, but actually stopping the cycle of bacteria. And it works that way with sensitivity, sun damage, and of course, anti-aging.
Awesome. Love it. Yep, totally different formulation. We use sulfur-based, and that's actually a natural antibacterial, just like Kirsten said, and it's actually soothing for your skin, which I love that combo. So totally different. Okay, Carrie Ballion. I don't know a lot about skincare and the products overall. How will I know what to suggest? Great question. Okay, so when I jumped into this business, I was not passionate about skincare. Not gonna lie. I knew nothing about it. My skin was a hot mess. I actually thought about doing like a screen share to show you guys like my face beforehand, but I don't know, it might be a little too embarrassing. Anyway, but just know my skin was a mess. And so for me, my 60-day before and after blew up Facebook because everyone's like, oh, wow, it must really work because it's working for Jen. So the products really do work, which is wonderful. You do not have to know anything about skincare to do this business. That's the beauty of this. You're not meant to be a dermatologist because the dermatologists have taken care of that portion of it. We have lots of systems in place to make sure that you're giving the right information. So not only do we have the team pages where I mentioned, you can, ask a question and within 5 minutes, there's going to be someone who's knowledgeable who can, tell you about that. We have several things. So the first is your website comes with what's called the solution tool. The solution tool is something that you can actually send. If you had a prospect that said, I don't, I've got dry skin, but I've got acne and I have wrinkles. Where do I even begin? You don't have to worry about figuring that out. You can actually send them to the solution tool, and within it's like a 20-second quiz, and it will give recommendations based on the doctors. And love the solution tool. And it'll even say, use this one in the morning, use this at night. This is how you're going to use it. So we've got that, but we also have something called RF Connection. And that is something that we have access to on our website. It will list out the ingredients. It has FAQs on every product we sell, and will give you great information on each product. Anything that you wanted to know about the products is available. We also have a nurses hotline. So you can actually email or call the nurses and find out from the nurses that work at Rodan & Fields, if you had a question. So they really have taken a lot of the guesswork out of it. We don't encourage guesswork. We really encourage, reaching out to your team, use the solution tool. So we have a lot of things in place. You don't have to know a thing about skincare. And here's the beauty is I still don't know everything about skincare. And I've been in this business for 3.5 years. And that's okay. You don't have to know every in and out to be successful. We share information. And I love that. It's a collaborative effect. And it has always been. So it makes it very easy. You don't have to know anything about skincare, and there's no quiz required to be able to sell it. Lots of systems in place to make you very successful. Okay, any other questions? Hopefully we've answered all of them so far. I'll go back through and make sure. I think we've got time for one, maybe two more questions. If not, then I'm going to turn it back over to Elise in a second here if we don't get any more questions, and we can have her kind of wrap things up.
Those were some awesome questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was, you put people on the spot and they don't, they ask simple ones. These ones were like.
These were great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, I'm going to pass it back over to Elise, and we're going to have her wrap things up.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody who took a few minutes out of your evening tonight to join us. I can't express enough that I truly understand being scared to jump into something that's new. But I also know that for me, I don't grow unless I'm being challenged, and I try to do things that are new and different. That you're not alone in this. You will never be alone in this. Once you join that, like I said, that for me was an unexpected and welcomed thing in my life, was this tribe of people that have surrounded themselves around me with no other purpose than to lift me up. And I think that we try to do that with every single person throughout our entire upline. But again, I'm going to end with my challenge. So my challenge to you all is right now, ask yourself, what needs to happen in your life? Remove any of the excuses, any of the noise that's going on around you. What needs to happen in your life for you to say yes to your future, for you to say yes to this opportunity, and for you just to say, to give it a shot. So really peel back that onion tonight, ask those questions, and reach out to your sponsor that invited you to this event tonight. And again, just thanks so much for taking time to join us. We really appreciate it. We hope that you say yes and that you jump on board this awesome journey with us.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. This was an awesome night. Hopefully we answered your questions, and hopefully we see you on the team pages soon. Have a good night.
Good night, guys.